I met my partner. He mentioned that he does a lot of trading as well as cryptocurrency mining. And my brother-in-law checked him out and said, like, this guy's legit. It's he knows what he's doing. And then his first cousin, who to this day is one of my closest friends, is one of the co-founders of Ethereum. And so I set up a meet between the two of them. Of course, I was there. And then he met with my partner, Henry, as well. And he said, yeah, this guy's legitimate. You should definitely work on scaling this. And so in 2020, I reached out to my, with then my former partner. I said, let's do this again, but this time on a much larger scale and focused on Bitcoin mining.
Good, man. Hey, thanks so much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
Cool. Well, let's just get right into it. What I love to do at the beginning of the show all the time is let our folks know a little bit about you and kind of learn about some of your journey getting to where you are today. So, tell me kind of how you got started on this path that you're currently on.
Yeah. So, historically, I had throughout my college career, I had always been in investment banking. Interned at some of the big banks, tech, M&A, and coming out of school, I wanted to get into commercial real estate. Didn't have any relationships in the industry. Come from a middle-class family in New Jersey. Sure. But the one guy that I did know, whose son was a very close friend of mine, he's the chairman and CEO of one of the largest real estate development companies in the state. So I sat down with him and I said, how do I become you? How do I become a large real estate owner?
That's wise. That's very wise.
And he said the best place to start is in commercial real estate brokerage. You learn the ins and outs of buildings and mechanical systems. You learn how to structure deals. You build a great network of landlords and corporations, and you can make a decent amount of money if you're good at it. So he said the only two places that you should want to work are either CBRE, which was even at the time the largest commercial real estate services firm, or with Trammell Crow, which coincidentally CBRE ended up acquiring. So I called up both of them. CBRE was not hiring. I ended up crashing their annual market forecast breakfast, handed my resume to the regional president, got an interview with him 2 weeks later, and started there in December of 2002. And frankly, I crushed it right off the bat. I loved it. Ruffled a lot of feathers along the way, but I did quite well there.
It's okay. Sometimes you got to skip in line to get where you got to be.
That's right, man.
So even before that, so you mentioned you went to school at Harvard.
That was business school. I went to undergrad in Boston.
Undergrad in Boston. University. So how'd you lead up to kind of your college trajectory that way? What were you doing before then that kind of pushed you?
Oh, man. Yeah. So pretty wild. So all throughout actually middle school and even high school, I was well set on becoming a doctor. I wanted to become a cardiovascular surgeon. So all my summer breaks, my vacations, I spent in the hospital. I spent working in the operating room, doing all sorts of medical related internships. And so I applied to the 7-year med program at BU, another one at another university, which I got into. And I just, 1 week before school started, I went up to Boston and I was touring the campus, and I walked by the School of Management, which was a brand new glass, shiny building on Commonwealth Avenue. I was with my parents, and I just walked into the building just to be like, wow, it has a pretty commanding presence, street presence. And I walked in, this good-looking gentleman in the foyer, and he introduces himself, very dapper, wearing a crisp suit, and he said, "Let me give you a tour of the building." So he gives me a tour of the building, talks to me about the curriculum, and I later found out he was the dean of the School of Management, former president of Ford Motor Company. And I was so enamored with him by the conversation and impressed with the curriculum that I walked straight from there to the registrar's office, dropped out of the pre-med program, and registered at the School of Management.
That's crazy. I mean, you had all those years of kind of, building your dream when you were young. How'd you get access to the hospitals and stuff? Do you have family that were in healthcare and stuff?
Yeah, being Indian and where I am, like it's a everyone, I mean, I have doctor and medical relationships everywhere. My
Yeah.
mom's been working at a hospital or was working at a hospital for 40 years. She had relationships, and I come from a family of physicians.
Oh, very cool. So your family was probably super excited that you wanted to get into, into healthcare, cardiovascular surgeon. We've got clients that are big cardiovascular surgery surgeons, and it's a lucrative business. And then right away, you just you see that building and you see what it's representing, and you have a good interaction. You just on a whim decide to change, huh?
On a whim, and I can tell you that I'm normally not that decisive.
That's crazy, but it's worked out, right?
It's been great. I mean, it's been a roller coaster. Commercial real estate brokerage in New York City. It doesn't get any more competitive. And
that's big money. That's big property.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I've loved it. I wouldn't trade it. There's no stability. You start every year at zero. You eat what you kill. But for me, I love the hunt. I love the chase. It keeps me going.
So what did your family think when you were changing on that whim? Were they like, "You're crazy, Roshan. What are you doing?"
No, I mean, incredibly supportive. And I think any physician, especially now, any physician you talk to, is similar to practicing attorneys will tell you that, yeah, don't go into medicine. There's so many issues and politics at the healthcare systems and dealing with insurance companies, and the industry has changed a lot.
Oh yeah.
Even since the 90s. It's not nearly as lucrative as it used to be, and it comes with a lot of headaches.
Oh, for sure. For sure. We support a lot of practices, and we've learned about a lot of that's how we've built our businesses, is solving those problems. But okay, so now you're in New York, you're working commercial real estate. Like you said, you're eating what you kill. I mean, how did you get into the mode of understanding what you had to do to win so quickly?
For me, it was very simple. It was just out hustle everyone. And, first one in the office, last one to leave. There's a certain fire in my belly that just won't go away.
Yeah.
And it gives me an insatiable appetite to just want to crush it. So no matter what, I'm going to win. And that's kind of the attitude that I had in commercial real estate brokerage. It's a pretty lonely existence there, but again, I love it.
So you were hungry, and I tell a lot of people that they say they want to do something, but I like to ask them, "Are you really hungry?" Because if you're not, you're going to quit.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how long did you do that before you transitioned into your next phase?
So fast forward, I mean, I'm still I can't get out of it. I can't get out of commercial real estate brokerage. I love it. And even though I have 3 other businesses, I still spend time in brokerage. I think I'm pretty good at it. I've developed a track record and a name for myself, and a great Rolodex, both professionally and socially, that I can tap into and leverage for that business. But in 2020, right around the start of COVID, was a wake-up call for me, which is when people, I realized people aren't clamoring and jumping up and down to lease office space.
Right.
Everybody was working home. So that was when I realized that, what, not that I've overstayed my welcome, but I definitely need to diversify my business interests. And I had already started back in 2016 a cryptocurrency infrastructure business, which had grown substantially. But in 2020, I sat down with and that was all focused on ethereum mining.
Okay.
In 2020, I reached out to my former partner. I said, let's do this again, but this time on a much larger scale and focused on Bitcoin mining. And so that was when we started our Bitcoin mining operation, which, as I said, has scaled substantially and is something that I'm very passionate about. I'm bullish on. I spend a lot of time growing. And I also have been working on my real estate investment firm, which is something that I've got a renewed focus on and something that I'm going to scale quite rapidly.
So in that case, you're buying and owning, or are you holding on to those investments? Are you just kind of transitioning them and flipping them right away? Or
yeah, it's actually a great question and quite timely, because just last week we closed on an incredible parcel of land right in Raleigh, right basically on NC State's campus, and there's a there's a massive undersupply of student housing, particularly in North Carolina and NC State. And so we have the potential here to build roughly 600 beds for student housing, but we are already in early stage conversations to turn around and flip it at a very handsome profit. We won't yet, just given the fact that we still need to do our entitlements and rezoning, and also that, of course, we don't want to pay capital gains tax. We want to hold on to it for at least a year. So in that particular instance, I think it's a great opportunity to take chips off the table, have a huge win, and redeploy that capital elsewhere. But my personal preference is I don't like selling anything. And
yeah, that's what I've heard the same thing. I've heard the money long term is in holding. The money isn't in, buying, selling over the course of a long time. You end up losing, but it's in buying and holding. Is that what you found?
Exactly right. I mean, the only thing I've ever sold is my last personal residence, which I did begrudgingly. I didn't have the type of liquidity that I would have liked to go out and buy the home that I'm in now. So
yeah.
In a way, it was a bit of a forced sale, if you will. And of course, since that time, it's doubled in value.
Yeah.
I would have been cash flowing very nicely. Yeah, I mean, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I saw it, but it was frustrating to not be able to act on it. So lesson learned. I won't make that mistake again. But even with all my crypto, I've never sold any of it, and I don't think I ever will.
I want to get into your wisdom on mining and what you've been doing there. Before we transition away from real estate, what's the biggest, commercial or I guess you could say residential real estate kind of concern that's going on that you're finding out right now as far as in economy and society? What are the biggest struggles, things that going on right now?
Yeah, I think, on a historical basis, we're still, relatively speaking, in a low interest rate environment. I mean, obviously it's not 2 or 3% like it recently was, but the capital markets, the debt markets are still in a very peculiar space. I think it's created a bit of the stalemate between buyers and sellers. I think that a lot of people are waiting for interest rates to drop before they do anything. So from my perspective, it's been challenging to find attractive deals that make sense to pounce on. Everything that I'm looking at, though, is off market, and really based on relationships or my partners.
That's where you find the deals, right?
Relationships.
That's where you find the deals.
As far as challenging, honestly, there's we have no problem raising capital. I feel like we can go out and raise any amount of capital. The other thing, though, I will say is that investors are still waiting for the shoe to drop and for there to be all this distress in the market. And you talk, and it's obviously well written about, and that there's all these loan maturities coming due and trillions of dollars of CMBS loans and this and that coming due in 2025. And is that going to create a massive collapse of the commercial real estate market? And so, again, I think that's giving a lot of pause to buyers and to investors to deploy capital right now.
So you think it's really going to cause prices to drop, and everybody's just waiting on that?
I've been saying prices are going to drop.
We all have
for over a decade, since basically 2010. I've been saying prices are going to adjust downward again. Obviously, coming out of 2008, 2009 was a great time to buy. But then, if you look at how long that last cycle was or has been, there's no. I don't understand it. Especially I don't understand how we're still in where we are in prices.
It's still expanding.
Corrected. But I have not seen distress. I have not seen the type of widespread distress that you would expect. Of course, here and there's going to be pockets or on select deals, folks that had floating rate debt and that came due, and those opportunities are pretty far and few between, though. And I'm not going to go out and buy a distressed office building and reposition it or convert it into residential. That's not for me. If you're somebody who's comfortable taking on that sort of a project, there is still some distress out there.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's move over into the world of mining Bitcoin that you're doing now. So you were doing Ethereum for a while, 2016 up in through kind of COVID times. You're doing the mining of Bitcoin now. So how did you get into it in the first place? Were you seeing the trends and saying, this looks interesting, I could pull this off, and then you just kind of learned and started doing it? Or what did that look like?
Yeah, so pure happenstance. I met my partner whose family owns an insurance business. They insured my primary residence. There was a freak ice storm back in there was a freak ice storm, and his father sent him over to make sure that the insurance adjuster didn't take advantage of me, or I didn't say anything that I wasn't supposed to. And he arrived early, and we got talking. I said, well, what are you up to? Where do you live? What else do you do? And he said, oh, I'm right here in South Orange, which is 5 minutes away from me. And he mentioned that he does a lot of trading as well as cryptocurrency mining. I knew absolutely nothing about crypto. I don't know if I had even heard of Ethereum, but my brother-in-law at the time was a big proponent of Bitcoin. And so I introduced the two of them really to vet him, because he came across as pretty shady to me, frankly. And my brother-in-law checked him out and said, like, this guy's legit. It's he knows what he's doing. And then his first cousin, who to this day is one of my closest friends, is one of the co-founders of Ethereum. And so I set up a meet between the two of them. Of course, I was there. And then he met with my partner Henry as well, and he said, yeah, this guy's legitimate. Definitely, we should definitely work on scaling this. And so, Henry has the technical expertise, but really not the ability to execute, not the ability to capitalize the business, scale it, handle the operational aspects of it, and that's really where I came in. So we grew it into a pretty big operation before the crypto winter of 2017, 2018 settled in.
Yeah. So what did it take to kind of to capitalize things back then? What did you have to do to kind of get it to a point where you could actually make some money?
Back then, the hardest part, honestly, was getting the GPUs. We were going to like Newegg and Micro Center, and we were trying. They were limiting customers on how many GPUs you could buy. So I was buying them under my sister's name, sending them to my sister's apartment in the city. I was buying some under my parents' names. And then we actually had a data center in Henry's. He converted his entire garage and the first floor of his residence into like a full-blown Ethereum mining data center. It was pretty radical, and but it worked, and it was a fantastic experience. And then we started looking in Canada and Washington, in the Pacific Northwest, basic cooler climates, to find places to deploy it on a larger scale.
So were you actually having to find places to deploy these that kind of you owned and operated? Because you weren't putting them in hosted environments and kind of right, and purchasing VMs and putting GPUs on those and stuff, right? You actually had to find space and fill the space with hardware.
That's right. And we were going into hosted environments.
Okay, you were as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were, which today is something that we're still doing with our Bitcoin mining. There's a dearth of capacity at power pricing that we're comfortable with, but we have relationships with hosting providers where we still have the ability to get rack space at extremely competitive costs. The problem, though, is still that counterparty risk, and so I do intend to shift our strategy pretty soon, where we're buying our own sites and basically consolidating all of our hosted operations into our own facilities. It's a natural progression for the business, and I think post halving it even makes more sense to vertically integrate.
Okay, so I mean, as a business, do you guys kind of actively market and look to work with other people that are looking to either? How are you partnering with people to grow, and how are you monetizing what you're earning and growing off of that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we have a fantastic relationship with a group called Luxor. They're incredible, very talented, smart group of folks that we have a strong joint venture partnership with for their firmware, for their mining pool, We utilize them for our mining equipment, basically as our supply, one of our suppliers. We've got quite a few, but Luxor is a great one. And that really is part of where I can add a lot of value within Decimal. Is, I'm pretty well networked now, having been in this industry for 8 years. 8 years in crypto, you're an OG. So I know all the players at all the big firms, or the firms that I care to know. I haven't gotten on the conference circuit yet, but that's probably something that will change. And I'm a big believer in partnerships. I love learning from other folks. I love seeing how they're looking at it. I think that here at Decimal, which is the name, Decimal Digital Currency is the name of our mining operation. We're lean, and there's a lot of people who are doing things differently, perhaps better. And for us to establish partnerships and JV relationships is really how I think helps us improve as well. And it's a big part of what I do, is getting out there and meeting people, meeting industry folks.
Sure. So, I mean, data mining in general is a pretty amorphous thing that I feel, at least folks kind of in my circle and extended beyond there, don't really completely understand, even at a basic level, to be able to kind of just say, okay, I get it. If you could, break it down in layman simple terms, so someone say, okay, I know how this was, because, people picture mining and they picture a little guy in a cave hitting away at a wall, rocks are falling, they're collecting the rocks. So, I mean, this isn't happening inside of a computer. So break it down for us.
Yeah, I'll do it in the most simplistic manner, and I know I won't even do it. I'll do it a disservice. But basically, we're the backbone for the Bitcoin network. We're the calculations and that our mining equipment, our Bitcoin mining equipment provides, is essentially what's processing transactions on the Bitcoin network. It's really that simple. And so as there is more Bitcoin adoption, you'll see obviously pricing will start increasing. You'll see more and more. You'll see more and more need, I think, for miners. From my perspective, I think that at this point of where we are, right, in 2024, you've now got BlackRock, you've got Fidelity, you've got all these ETFs that are pouring billions of dollars. There's billions of dollars of inflows coming in. I still think, well, now there's certainly credibility, and I think there's validation that Bitcoin is here to stay. This isn't what many people thought it was, where Bitcoin's going to zero. I mean, there's still a good chunk of people who think Bitcoin's going to zero, which is pretty crazy to me. But I don't understand the concept of going out and today Bitcoin's at 62,000. I don't understand, or maybe I do because maybe folks don't have access, but why go out and buy the underlying asset at 62 or 65 or 70 or 50 when, it could easily drop to 40 or whatever it may be. Now you've taken this paper loss, so you've got a paper loss, when you could just go mine the Bitcoin. Like, our cost of production today is hovering around 17,000 to 18,000 per coin. Like, that's a lot of built-in downside risk protection when you can go out and accumulate Bitcoin at 17 or 18,000 as opposed to going out, putting money into an ETF, spending those fees, paying those fees,
so somebody
or
else
going
gets
out on
paid.
Coinbase and buying it at 60 something.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I think that any financial advisor that knows what they're doing, or RIA, is going to tell you that you should, even like a small percentage of your overall portfolio, there should be some allocation to Bitcoin. And so for me, I think that when you talk about how we go out and monetize and grow the business, it's meeting with folks, it's meeting with investors, with high net worth individuals, the folks that realize, like, all right, this is a responsible and safe manner in which we can get Bitcoin exposure, investing with Decimal. I certainly would not be going out and buying any of the publicly traded mining companies, just based on how they operate. And
is that where you'd say that most of the risk exists in folks getting involved, is just kind of putting their faith in the kind of the big operations to do the right thing? I think a lot of people, they don't understand, and they think there's a big risk, right?
Yeah, I do think that there's maybe the biggest risk. Well, sorry, you're talking about getting into mining?
Yeah, or just getting into Bitcoin in general,
Getting
whether it's
into
on the mining
Bitcoin.
side or just
I
the.
think the biggest risk is lack of understanding with proper security. People not understanding how to keep their information safe, their
Mm-hmm.
keys safe. Keeping too much crypto on exchanges. There's the lack of security, and I think I attribute that to just a lack of education is probably the biggest risk. But I think that changes, and I think it's generational, right? Like in the same way in which my kids use TikTok and Snapchat, and I have no idea how to do either, right? This, like the concept of having a digital wallet and utilizing crypto for payments, like that all is going to become very
Pretty normal.
commonplace. But if I try to explain that to my parents, they would have like zero clue on how to utilize that.
Well, there was a time when you didn't either. How long did it take you get to the point where you finally felt I get this? I'm in. How
Oh
long did it
man,
take you to
I'm still learning every
Yeah.
day, but I'm surrounded myself with very smart people who teach me. But
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm a slow learner, but it's not intuitive.
Right.
And again, I think that could be a generational thing. Like my partners are all much younger than I am.
Mm-hmm.
For them, this is pretty easy and basic, but yeah, it's a learning curve, that's for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very rare that I will go to a cocktail party or a dinner with folks or meet new people that are like gung ho about crypto or sign me up. Right? There's most people have a lot of trepidation. They've heard horror stories about Ponzi schemes and all sorts of
Mm-hmm.
scams and hacks, and like they don't, they think it's a gimmick. They don't think this is real.
Yep. Yeah,
That will
absolutely.
change. That will
Yeah,
change.
it will. And that's just like we're scared of what we don't understand. And I think one of the things that will help is this, folks that come along and can simplify the acclimating to the technology, to the industry, right? Like, you look at things like, E-Trade and a lot of those different companies where trading had always seemed to be way above and outside and beyond what the average person could comprehend, right? And then certain services came along and appeared to make it easier for people to feel like at least that they understood what was going on and that they could get involved, right?
Yeah, it's a great point. Just
So,
like people didn't believe in the internet. And
right.
similarly, how I think a lot of folks will say artificial intelligence is going to destroy the world and humanity, right? Like people
Yeah.
are afraid of what they don't know.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay. So what's next for you? What's kind of on the horizon for you?
On the horizon, it's again timely. My wife and I acquired a pretty substantial stake in a health and wellness company. We finalized that deal. It's been in the works for a while. It's more aesthetics than I guess health, but um, we are super passionate about this project. I, in particular, am really focused on the longevity side, on the wellness side of the business. I think that there's a lot that people don't know that's out there that can be utilized for anti-aging, living a better quality life, and that's something that's. I mean, I'm doing it. I'm very much involved in the company, and it's a business that we're scaling right now.
Cool. That sounds exciting.
Yeah.
So have you personally been into that kind of that mode of wellness and longevity? I mean, as we age, we all think about, hey man, I didn't have that. Where'd that bruise come from? Or I didn't have that. Look at my beard. This is all from my kids. I don't know if they gave you any gray hair, but maybe they helped you lose some.
Oh no, I got
know,
it.
Yeah, oh, you got it too on the side there. There it is.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm getting stripes, but yeah. I mean, have you been in kind of the wellness kind of thing for a while, or is it just something that you've been more concerned with lately?
I've always been, despite my belly and physical appearance, I've always been into fitness. I've always enjoyed working out. I crave it. That mental clarity and that endorphin rush that I get from having a great workout is it keeps me going. It keeps me sane. So I'm in the gym often. And what I was finding though is that after an awesome workout, Whereas most people would feel invigorated and ready to tackle the day and energized. I was just exhausted,
Worn out, huh?
like worn out, like needed a nap. And so I knew something was off. And when we launched our wellness business here, the name of our company is Ethos Aesthetics and Wellness. So when we launched wellness at Ethos, we brought in somebody who I would call one of the experts in the field. I mean, she is brilliant, and people at her former practice in New York were paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in membership fees just to see her a few times a year.
Whoa.
So I was her patient number one, if you will, here at Ethos, and so she's been monitoring. I get regular blood tests. She's been monitoring my body composition, my hydration levels. She's looking at everything, and what I found was, or what she found was, my magnesium levels, my vitamin B, my vitamin D, my testosterone, like everything was incredibly low, like well lower than where it should have been, which is part of why I didn't have energy.
You're drained.
And focus. And so since she's focused on me, and spent time improving that, I feel like a new person. I'm sleeping better. My performances in the gym is better. I've put on muscle mass. Still struggling to lose the belly, but yeah. So for me, like that's the future, and I think that a lot of the stuff is still not FDA approved. I think a lot of that is based on the pharma companies and their political weight. But I mean, I don't know if you've heard about this guy like Brian Johnson, for example, who's biohacking his age. And shed like years off of his life. I mean,
I think I did hear about this guy.
Yeah, that's an extreme. But there's a lot out there with peptides that are readily available and available. You don't have to be a millionaire to be able to, nor should you have to be a millionaire to be able to live well and longer. And so I think when you hear about guys like Sergey Brin and others and Bezos who are focused on longevity and anti-aging, like this stuff is out there. It's happening, and what we want to do is make it readily available to everybody.
Very cool. So with the wellness project, kind of what's the focus on how you're delivering it to market?
Yeah, so right now we're starting slow. It's a brand new concept for us. The business has been around for 15 years and has always been aesthetics, and by aesthetics, Botox, laser hair removal, cool sculpting, fillers, and now, of course, the semaglutide and GLP-1 drugs for weight loss drugs. But with wellness, we have IVs, so a variety of different IVs, IV therapy and IM therapy that we deliver. We are also rolling out sexual function and hormone replacement, so TRT, which is essentially testosterone replacement for men. And then we will have our peptides. I mean, it's already available and available in certain places, but the peptide launch is something that you need to be very thoughtful about, given liability and so forth. So we're taking it slow. Right now, it's really just the IV, IM, and weight loss. Next will come sexual function and hormone therapy.
So did you say you're in North Carolina? Is that where you live now?
No, I'm in northern New Jersey.
Northern New Jersey.
I'm about 35, 40 minutes outside Manhattan.
Okay. So what's kind of the environment look like when it comes to starting up that kind of business, because you're over in the healthcare side of things now. And so what kind of how do you navigate kind of rolling out a business like that? Do you have to have an MD on staff? Do you have to have certain clinical type of, certified, physicians at different levels to be able to administer things? What does that look like?
Yeah. So the business has to be MD owned.
Okay.
So my partner is a former ER doctor. His wife who was a co-founder, is very much involved in business, anesthesiologist.
Okay.
We have RNs, we have PAs, everybody's licensed and board. I mean, yeah, we're board certified led. And I think that in this northern New Jersey market, people are savvy and sophisticated, and it's fairly affluent areas and submarkets here. people are not going to any random place to be injected, right?
Right.
Or treated. They want to know that they're being treated by a physician. And I mean, to this day, a lot of people won't even go to a medical spa. They'll only go to their plastic surgeon or their dermatologist.
Right.
That's still very much the case.
Yeah, that can be challenging, right? We've got a newer client that's we're going to be having on the show here probably in a couple of weeks, but we're helping him launch a brand new practice, and it's going to be focused on family medicine on the front end, but he's going to have a lot of other kind of boutique health and wellness things that he'll roll out, because the community that he's launching in is kind of a more affluent community in the North Carolina area. And so we're going to be doing a lot of different things for him as far as resources and providing scribes for his physicians, handling all of his revenue, and then doing all of his IT and things like that. And we're actually doing his digital marketing and stuff well too. So, but
cool.
A lot of the conversation is right now is making sure that he's got all of his ducks in a row. And he had a partner, because I believe he's a PA, a certified PA, but his partner was the medical doctor in the business, and he backed out. So he has to get another one, which he's already secured, but that can be challenging, making sure you've got somebody on board willing to be there.
Hey.
Cool. I think that's exciting. I mean, I've always, as I've grown my family and grown in age, I've always kind of ebbed and flow with my personal health and wellness and things. And I used to be huge into it before kids. And then, like everybody told me, once I have kids, it's going to start to go away. But then as you start to realize you're a little bit closer in your partnership with your mortality, you start to pay attention to what you're doing. And it's absolutely huge market. So
yeah, man, if you don't have your health, right, if you don't have anything, that to me is, a lot of times I'm grinding all day with work.
Yep.
But I always make sure I prioritize, even if it's just, if I'm getting on a call or a Zoom, I'll take it just going out for a walk and getting a couple miles in that way. It's important.
Yeah, it's so easy for us to forget about the stress we need to put our body through, for health, like walking, or whether it's jogging, or, weight resistance or something, how good that is for us. Because we're sitting on our can all day. I find myself all the time, I'm like, why is my butt sore? Oh, I need to get up and do something.
That's right.
All right, cool. Well, when you're not grinding, when you're not crushing it, what are you doing to find joy? What kind of hobbies do you have outside of your business life, or is that it?
No, we travel. I love to travel with my family. We go away pretty frequently. We're away, if not every month, at least every other month. So that's probably the biggest passion, in terms of having fun and getting away from work for a little bit. Although even when I'm traveling, I'm not necessarily away.
You're always working. Yeah, I know.
I'm still very much connected.
And the family loves that, right?
Actually, they don't mind. And for me, I'm up at the crack of dawn. I'm up every day by 3:30, 4 in the morning, including while away. So, I'll be sitting on the beach or by the pool or on the balcony with a steady stream of espresso or coffee, if not my laptop, and I'm just jamming. And, I'm doing research, I'm reading, I'm getting my inbox cleared, I'm getting ahead for the day.
Yeah.
So by the time the kids wake up, my wife's up, I've already worked out.
You've done the hard work.
I've done, I'm good.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're almost oblivious to it.
So do you get to bed early?
No, not at all. Our wellness director does not like it, but no, I don't sleep until maybe 11:30, 12.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was like, what does your wellness person think about that?
Yeah, she's not happy.
She's not excited.
She wants me to get one of these Aura rings, or what's the other one? Forgot the wrist, Aura ring, or I forgot.
Okay.
So, yeah, she wants
you resting
sleep,
more, right?
But I was like, you don't want to monitor my sleep.
Yeah. All right. So you're traveling. Do you typically kind of go around the same places, or are you trying new places all the time?
Always new places. We're a sucker for beaches, so we spend a lot of time down in the Caribbean, British Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands. That's typically where we go. But in August we spend in Europe. Although a couple summers ago we spent August in East Africa. That was wonderful. life-changing experience for the kids.
Yeah.
We typically like to be out of the country for the month of August, and yeah, now more and more, my one of my older sons, he's a big golfer, avid golfer. So we try to plan our trips around where there's a beautiful golf course. And then my little one is getting more and more into skiing. So I think that December, our winter breaks will be more oriented around great ski destinations.
Very cool. So where's a beach that you haven't gone to that you want to make sure that you get to pretty soon?
Yeah, there's a place it's a small island, difficult to get to, called Canoon.
Okay.
Canoun, where there's a Mandarin Oriental, and that's a spot that's on my list, down in that region, in that part of the world that I have not been to, that I want to get to. But pretty much every other island down there, every known island down there, we've been to.
Wow, that's cool. So like Fiji and Bali and all those places out there.
No, Fiji and Bali, my wife has been. I've actually never been to Fiji and Bali. It's a bit daunting, just for that length of travel for a beach. Yeah. I know that's not the right way to be thinking about it. It's not just a beach, but
yeah,
I don't know. I can't justify it. I can't justify it for that. Although if you mix it in with other destinations and
some other stuff,
if you're going to, for example, Southeast Asia and and I don't mind for August. I don't mind going away for 4 or 5 weeks at a clip.
Yeah. So you had mentioned earlier that your family and you're Indian. Do you ever get to India? Do any travel over there?
It's so embarrassing. I mean, growing up, I used to be in India pretty much every year.
Yeah.
I'm so embarrassed to say we have traveled and shown the kids so much, and I think it's incredibly important for the kids to be exposed to different cultures and customs and see how people live. I am going to tell you that they have not been to India. So my wife is very disappointed in us about that, for good reason. And that's something that's on our list, likely for December of 2024.
That's cool. So both of my business partners are Indian born. One of them is U.S. citizen. He has been for the last 20 years or so. The other one is not, but he travels back and forth. He actually just got back from India today. Before we got on the show, I called him. He was on the shuttle heading back to his vehicle out of Chicago to get back to Milwaukee area. But I'm embarrassed because we've been business partners for a better part of 10 years now, and I haven't made it a priority to get there. And my excuse is I do have 4 kids. One of them's only 3, and I need to get them to a point where they're all at a good traveling age and convince my wife to get on a plane for 13 to 16 hours there and back. You know what I mean?
Man, you'll love it. India's pretty awesome. It's a very different place now than it was when I was going there as a kid.
I've made so many friends that I've never, because our team in India is 200 plus people, and our team here is right around 15, and they're all my friends. I feel like I know them all. I've heard about their weddings. I've been through via Zoom meetings holidays, and we'll celebrate holidays over here at the same time for the fun. And I feel like I know them, but you don't really know somebody until you can shake their hand or give them a hug, Mm-hmm. And so yeah, I'm counting down kind of proverbial the days to when my family's ready to. Because when I go, I don't want to just go for a couple of days and have to turn around and come back. I want to be able to pick up, be there for a month or so, and just bring the whole family with me so that we can live there for a while. You know what I mean? Just be a part of it. So
yeah, that's such a great way to look at it, and that's spot on. I mean, going for a month, and it sounds like you've got 200 people there, and your partners are Indian, so you'll have. I'm sure you'll be given a lot of suggestions. And you'll be well taken care of. But definitely let me know.
I'm requiring there to be at least 5 weddings during the time that I'm there, because I've heard about the legendary events that are weddings in India.
They're wild.
And it's I've been to many weddings in the US, and they're fun, but it's a whole different ball game for weddings in India.
Night and day. The Indian weddings are something else. Yeah.
Like our employees, when they take time off, like we take time off for a wedding here, I just need Friday to get ready, and the wedding's going to be on the Saturday, Sunday, and if they're not going on honeymoon, they'll be back at work on Monday. Like, oh, really? You need a month off of work because you're getting married?
Okay. Well, I mean, our wedding was here in the U.S. Indian wedding.
Yeah,
9 days, 9 straight days.
Yeah.
So,
So cool. So, but I've heard it's a ton of fun. My partner Manny, he just tells me about, kind of that wedding dance procession that happens with the groom, with the best man and the groom and all that stuff. And he showed me videos, and it just looks like a good time. He tells me stories about his friends when he's the best man, and he tries to make that part go as slowly as possible. So that seems like a lot of fun. Anyway, cool. So anything else besides travel? Do you kind of, I mean, you say your kids doing any sports? Are you following them around or?
Yeah, I've
golf.
Coached,
you mentioned golf.
Yeah, I've coached flag football for now.
Nice.
What is it? 20? So 7 years. Yeah, coaching flag football for 7 or 8 years. I've coached baseball for many years. Kids don't play anymore. Basketball. Yeah. So we're a big sports family.
Okay.
And
all right. So what's the sport of choice? Where do you guys go to?
Basketball. We all play basketball. I still play with my older guy who's a great basketball player. Like I legitimately now have to try hard to win.
To win.
Yeah, before it was a lot of just like, letting him win, and now it's a struggle. And in fact, I would say even when I'm playing my max, he now at this point could probably beat me.
He could just beat you, yeah. All right, so professional ball club. Who's the family's team?
Yeah, it's so weird. We don't have a favorite team. I mean, and for me, growing up during the Jordan era, like I was obsessed with the Bulls.
With the Bulls, yeah.
And basically liked everyone other than the Knicks and the Pistons. Now it's just individual players, and I think there's so much young talent in the league. It's amazing.
It's a different ball game than when we grew up.
Oh yeah, Sean. I mean the defense. I have a
feeling we're a similar age group, and it's a different game.
It's a totally different sport, and I still prefer the '90s, early 2000s style of basketball over where we are today. But this is fun. I mean, if I had to pick one team, and it's really just because I love the offense and I love watching them play, it's the Warriors. Okay. I love the Clay and Steph dynamic. I say what you want about Draymond, but his energy, they're a fun team. They're a fun.
I just came across a video of Draymond when he was in college. Apparently, he got on the football field once and just got embarrassed. But I never knew that happened. I thought that was pretty funny. Well, that's cool. I took my son to his first professional basketball game a couple months ago, and we're in Wisconsin, so we're just an hour north of Milwaukee. So I took him to a Bucks game, and I'd been to a few, and we like to go to Brewers games too, so baseball games in the summertime. And I took him away on a weekend last year to Milwaukee, and we went to 3 games in 3 days, and he loved it. But it gets so hot out there. So eventually, he was 12 at the time. He's 13 now. But I took him to this basketball game, and he doesn't even follow basketball all that much yet, but his friends do. But he loved it.
Yeah,
just the energy, of an NBA. It's like a show when you go to an NBA game, and the energy is high. And I will say, I've been to a Bulls game and Bucks games, and there's, the Bulls aren't what they were.
Mm-mm.
But they put on a really good show there in their state, in their arena. The energy is electric.
Yeah, I still love going to Bulls games. I still love it.
Yeah,
more than any other game is for me. It's watching the Bulls play. So when the Bulls are in New York, when they're at the Garden, I'll go. And same with the Warriors. If the Warriors are here, I'll go.
Well, let me know if you're ever in the area. We'll get you to a Bulls game. One of our biggest client, he's a cardiovascular surgeon in the Chicago area. He's got tickets. He's got season tickets to Bulls games, and he took me to my first Bulls game, and it was awesome. He's an Indian guy too. Amazing. Shout out to Dr. Chopra. But he's he loves his Bulls, and showed us a really good time. And then we returned the favor and took him to a Bucks game. We were trying to get a Bucks Bulls game, but we couldn't make that happen yet.
And then football. We're a big football family.
Okay.
But random. Like my wife's a big Giants fan. I'm a huge Jets fan, so my season's pretty much over before it starts. My little one's a Ravens
Preseason's always
fan.
exciting,
Yeah,
they
Jets. Just keep it interesting though.
Jets.
They always give you that like glimmer of hope, and but it hasn't panned out. And then my older one is a Seahawks fan. So we're all over the place.
That is all over the place. I was born and raised in Texas, so I grew up a Cowboys fan. Even though I grew up in the Houston area, they still had the Oilers, but my family were all, almost everybody's a Cowboys fan down there. And then I moved up to Wisconsin, and everybody is a Green Bay Packer fan. Mm-hmm. So everybody in my family, besides my 5-year-old daughter, is a Cowboys fan. She decides that she wants to be a Packer fan. I think she just likes getting spoiled by her grandma and grandpa and everybody else, or she just likes she's my one that likes to just rub things in with me. But yeah, huge football fan too. I used to play, used to just follow almost everything that I could. But when you're building businesses and building a family, you just kind of keep up with what you can. So how was that when Rodgers went down last year? How was that? How did that sting?
First quarter, first game of the season, there was so much hype and fanfare around him. Yeah, it was crushing. And Zach Wilson is not the answer. So
oh no, I think we knew that right away.
Yeah, I think Rodgers will have a good season if he can stay healthy. But I'm a big fan of Tyrod Taylor, his backup. Yeah, I think Tyrod's a great football player, great quarterback. You saw what he did for the Giants last season. Mm-hmm. I think he probably should have gotten a couple of those starts over DeVito and. But I'm excited with him. I'm excited with him at the being on the Jets now.
Yeah, it was just crazy. I remember. I can't tell you the last time I watched a Jets game. Besides that one, I was traveling with a couple of my employees to a training in California, and we went to a sports bar and had some chicken wings, and the game was on. I'm like, cool, and it looked pretty exciting. They're dry, and then he goes down, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah. But his rehab, his recovery has been exceptional.
Yeah.
I think that they were saying that he might have been ready had the Jets been playing in December, that he would have been ready.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it.
Sorry. Had they been playing, in January playoffs.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people have been complaining about the field, the turf conditions at MetLife Stadium. So
is it 100% turf, or is it like a mix, or what do they have
sure.
there?
To be honest, I'm not sure, but I know there's been a lot of injuries there.
Yeah. Yeah, the turf is dangerous for sure. Prefer grass, but it's not easy to keep in good shape. But hardly anybody's all grass anymore. Everybody's almost a mix of the grass and the turf. Even Green Bay's that way now. They avoid all the mud.
But we should keep this going. I'd love to learn more about your business.
Absolutely.
And what you're up to, and if there are any ways to potentially collaborate.
Yeah, I definitely stay connected. When we get done with the show, we'll get everything set up for you and released, and let's make some time to sit down and kind of talk a little bit about the things we're doing. I'm sure there's a few things we could come together on.
Excellent. I would love that.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. I think we can about wrap it up. This has been a lot of fun. I learned a bunch of stuff. And I gleaned some wisdom, which is my goal kind of every week, getting to meet new folks, kind of sitting on your side of the screen is what can I learn that I don't already know? Because we know there's a lot for sure. Cool.